Hello, and welcome to Story Power, a bi monthly podcast I created because I'm an unabashed story lover. Stories have had a huge impact on my life, starting with the family movie night discussions my parents instituted when I was a child. I want to share that love with you. As cognitive scientist Roger C. Shanks says, humans are not ideally set up to understand logic. They are ideally set up to understand stories. I'm making it my mission to not only spread the love of stories, but all the valuable things they teach us about human nature and relationships. We humans are emotional creatures, and stories help us examine our emotions from a comfortable distance. They also help us walk in the shoes of the characters to help us see the world in new ways. It's my hope you gain some valuable insights from my guests.
So I started like in the early 2000s, but just nothing wrong with it. But the words by themselves for me weren't working. And then when I developed my home studio, I said, okay, let's try it here. And I started creating the words and narrating, like you heard, and writing the music all at the same time. It all came together at once. Sometimes, usually the story's a little ahead, but sometimes the music was a little ahead. Sometimes I remember feeling that the text was accompanying the music, so it all happened at once.
Hello, Story Power listeners. This is episode 141, and I am talking to Christopher Kaufman, who is quite talented. And I got to listen to his first book, Tales of the Ocean City, which is an audiobook, and I love that you combine music with it. And it's really for, I was noticing it's for 8 to 10 or 12-year-olds. That's what it said in the
Well,
library thing.
well, that was
But
incorrect. It's a young adult on up. I have a lot of adult fantasy listeners, fantasy
okay.
lovers who are part of it.
Well, I loved it, and I'm 72. So
There you go.
but unfortunately, I only got to listen to the first book. So I was looking at your bio and I noticed that you have a doctorate in music composition, and I'm assuming that you composed the music
Oh,
for the
yes.
audio. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
now uh who plays? Is it actual instruments or is it electronic
Well,
instruments?
it's an actual musician, me.
Ah,
And
that
I'm playing, see, I write music also for film, you see, and so you get all of this technology going with the orchestra sounds in the libraries. And I use a program called Logic, and
logic.
it's called Logic, and it's like a huge loom, like a beautiful loom with all these strands and tracks that you create and sculpt your sound on. So I have libraries of orchestras and beyond natural sounds, all kinds of things that I use, and I
Mm.
play it in and work with it that way. So it's me in my studio.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming, you're trying out different pieces of music to go with what's happening in the
No, no,
story.
I compose. That's a good question because basically what happened, I started, I've had these books in my mind. You mentioned I have a doctorate in music composition, right? I actually started writing books first, when I was like 9 years old. I
Right.
wrote books, stories with colorful illustrations.
Uh-huh,
But
uh-huh.
then I discovered music in the high school years. I went to the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts and
Oh.
became a composer, and then went through and lived the life of a composer for many years. But my
Uh-huh.
stories never left me, you see. So when I emerged from my schooling phase at Cornell University with advanced degrees in music composition, I also had the complete event structure for Tales of the Ocean City in my head
Ah,
all the way through book 8.
ah.
And I started writing them down, trying to get what I imagined onto paper, which is quite an ordeal, a fascinating complex procedure. And so I started like in the early 2000s, but just nothing wrong with it, but the words by themselves for me weren't working. And then
Mm.
when I developed my home studio, I said, okay, let's try it here. And I started creating the words and narrating, like you heard, and writing the music all at the same time. It all
Ah.
came together at once. Sometimes, usually the story's a little ahead, but sometimes the music was a little ahead. Sometimes I remember feeling that the text was accompanying the music,
Ah.
so it all
Mhm.
happened at once. So it was all integral and organic that way.
Wow, and how long did it take you to do the first book?
That's one of those questions we love because we can say, well, it took me 35 years because it took you that long to become a composer, right?
Right.
But the actual process, I don't know, a summer, something like that.
Oh, that's fast.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
once it's happening, it just goes.
Yeah,
And
right, yeah. And has it stayed about that amount of time for each book, or are you getting faster as you go along?
well, they're all different. The first two books
Mhm.
were completed by like 2011. But
Ooh.
something really amazing happened in 2010. My daughter was born,
Oh.
and I started writing different kind of piece for a while. Well, first of all, I had orchestra pieces and symphonic pieces
Mhm.
and classical music pieces, but um, I started something called the Phantastic Theater, which is I think all artists should have an outreach, an educational arts outreach program. Everyone should have that now, especially with the way the
Yes.
arts are in the schools. And so, of course, there's my daughter, and I had this idea in my head I'd had a long time ago, and I said, well, now's the time. And it was called The Adventures of Squiggle T. Buglet and the Musical Forest. And it's like a musical play like Peter and the Wolf on steroids.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's a theatrical piece. My daughter, when she was 5, was the star of, and we did it chamber music workshops all the way through with the full orchestra in Minnesota when she was 7. So I spent years focused on those music. They aren't musicals, they're music plays, classical music plays with full orchestral scores pouring through the speakers, and the screen becomes a background scenery with all kinds of art, illustrative art, and
Mhm.
sometimes characters she's interacting with. And I'm narrating and she's acting, and puppetry and song. And I made these giant puppets, everything. It became a really big deal. And I did that for a few years, you see. And then when she turned teenage years, she kind of outgrew all of that.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then I said, now's the pandemic hit and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, now's the time to return to the Heart Project, Tales of the Ocean City, which started all this off. And so, and I had it all in my head, and the whole thing was worked out, and I hadn't written it all down yet. So I did books 3, 4, and 5 in one year.
Oh, wow.
And that completes the first 5 books, complete the first series, the
Mhm.
Vorm War. The whole thing, it's the story of a young civilization turning the corner into the future, but first they must face an enemy from their deep past, as you heard from the first book, Battle in the Sky, when young
Right.
Harloot and his telepathic companion, the Priant, who's a kind of telepathic Pegasus Vespucian, and he's going off to leave his island home and join fully with the city life of the ocean city. And he sees the princess and he wants to go say hello. And then the Vorm attack. And the whole first book is this visceral, wild, fun, exciting battle scene, right? And at the end,
Yes.
the warrior Verdun arrives at the ocean city, and it's extremely uplifting and positive. So it goes through this whole catharsis and all these kind of things. And that's the beginning of this story. Well, books 2, he goes into the city, visits his friends, and he goes to training games. All this stuff happens, but it culminates in the main adventure sequence of book 2, which is called Initiations, where he goes down the throat of the giant volcano where the city is carved into.
Right.
And he
Right.
goes down and has an initiation, a large scale initiation adventure where he meets personifications of the ancient past and the primitive beginnings of their civilization, and battles a giant pterodactyl kind of dinosaur monster. It's very exciting, very Edgar Rice Burroughs, you know.
Mhm.
And then it completes the initiation ritual, comes out the other side, and he's all being trained, you see, for leading a cadre of young warriors who
Oh.
have a special mission in the upcoming huge epic war with the Vorm. And in books 4 and 5, particularly, they go and
Mhm.
there's a large scale epic war scenario with different armies, all this kind of wild, fun stuff going on. And he has a central mission where he goes into the hive spire of the Vorm. They're like a hive-like beings with a hive king, and
Mhm.
it's really wonderful and involved. And so that's what's going on, and that completes in book 5. Having then been warmed up, I continued on. And the follow-on series I'm completing now. This book's 6, 7, and 8. It's called The Green World, and it continues to evolve. In fact, at this point in time, Harloot and the Vespucian are exploring space.
Oh.
So it really begins in this core classic fantasy world, right?
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
continues to evolve. And now we're like sci-fi. It's like fantasy science fiction,
Mm.
heavy on the fantasy. It's more, you know, the
Right.
scientific stuff. What makes it different from hard science fiction, for example, is that it's not about the science as much as the feeling and the colors and the visceral emotions, and that
Mhm,
the fantasy science serves the story, you
mhm.
know. Anyway, that's where I am now. I'm finishing up book 8. And this final sequence that I'm completing now in book 8 was in my head all the way back when I finished my doctorate degree in 1991. So I had all of that in my head all these years.
Oh,
You
wow.
see, finally fulfilling it.
So are you going to have more of that, or are you going to start a whole new series with
Well,
new
there
characters?
no, definitely will continue to evolve, but it'll jump into the future a bit. And
Oh.
I'm still thinking about it all. And yes, there's an associated series,
Mhm,
but at the end of in this book 8, they learn of a whole galaxy, the rest of the galaxy out there. There's kind of a barrier they cross, and then the Star Kingdom is out there. So exploring the Star
Oh.
Kingdom and their civilization continuing to evolve, and it might jump into the future a bit,
Uh-huh.
and it'll be like the main character Harloot's great granddaughter will be the main character and things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. And there's another world, a whole other series of adventures, another associated series in the same universe, but maybe jumping into the future, where it's like a fantasy sci-fi mystery with a detective-like character solving complex mysteries and stories,
Oh,
and
that is
then
so
they'll
cool.
meet up. The Tirhwalians, the Harloose descendants, will arrive on his planet at some point, and you'll meet then his great granddaughter, for example, who then becomes part of the
Mhm,
adventure from then on, that
mhm.
sort of thing. So that's what I'm planning ahead.
Now, what happens now? I only got to listen to the first book, and the
Yes,
princess was injured
very
pretty
injured.
severely,
Yes,
and I wanted to know what happened to her, and it was very
you
sad that
do.
her
Yes, Shigla.
Pegasus, Shigla, yes, that was. I liked that you had Pegasus connected to humans or to humanoids. Uh, because I've read others where dragons and humans are connected, but I kind of like the
Like
whole
Anne
idea of the.
McCaffrey. Yes.
Yes. Well, there's that, but there's also the Naomi Novik series. It's historical, but
Yes.
the dragons are the Air Force, and they are, connected to one. Each dragon's connected to a person. But I liked the Pegasus thing because I kind of like horses. I
Yeah,
like Pegasus.
sure.
And yeah, so when I can check it out at the library, I'll listen to the second, and if they have all the rest of the series, I'll listen to all of them because they're very fast. I
Yes.
listened to it in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, and I think it was only about an hour and a half or something.
Yeah, the first book is an hour. They're like an hour a piece.
Mm, hmm. And one of the other things I liked about it was you had this music that introduces the chapter. You don't call them
Yeah,
chapters, you call them something else. But
episodes.
and then it's the same music to indicate, okay, that's the end of this little segment.
I call that the
And then
introit. It
yeah,
begins and ends, and it
right,
signals
right.
what's about to happen, like a
Yeah,
theme music kind of thing.
right. I really like that. And plus I liked that the music is sometimes you don't get the emotional impact from the words, but the music, I always like. That's one of the reasons I like music, movies
Yeah,
and television, is
yeah,
because you've got this emotional under. You're not always aware of
sure.
it, but it's there.
Yeah, they work together very much.
Yeah, and I really liked that.
Thank you.
I noticed on Amazon because I was going to see if I could
Ah,
find the second book some other place.
sure. Thank you for them.
Um, that the print books are out of print, but so tell me that
Well,
story.
I had them on there for a while, but basically, over the years, I had done them in different ways. This
Hmm.
Create Space and Ingram Spark and
Hmm.
KDP and all these things.
Hmm.
And then I created a whole new edition with new covers and all that kind of stuff and changes. And I wanted to control it. So I took them off of there for a while. I might
Ah,
go
yeah.
back on, but I'm making new covers now, so I might wait till all the new covers are in and then put them back on there. But
Oh, I see.
basically, I want to sell through my home site, which is kaufmantales.com. Kaufman, Kaufman, tales.com. It's
Yeah.
my own personal store, and there I can control it. And I get people's emails. You see, I mean, if you just buy the book, that's great, but you might never know that there's the audio album, right? So I need to be
Right.
able to communicate to people and create a whole world within a world of readers and people that, I can talk to.
Yeah, I
So,
like that idea a lot. My husband and I are going to be revamping my website because it's very old. I started in 2013 and only revamped it once. And so uh that's what I want to do too, is create a list for like newsletter or news
yep,
about my upcoming books or my
absolutely.
podcasts or whatever, because I have a lot of endeavors. But I kind of like, I've talked to several authors lately who are sort of taking their books and
Direct to
managing
reader, it's
them,
called.
yeah, managing them themselves and not
Yeah.
going through some other.
It really feels like you're being taken over by some corporate entity, and they'll
Mm,
randomly change prices and they'll do things that you didn't intend to do and
hmm.
do all kinds of weird things. So, um, a lot of people suggest you'd have to do it all, but at this point, I'm building my base,
Hmm.
and if people they'll find, and it's very available there at Kaufman
Yeah.
Tales, and there's my trailers are on there and reviews from all kinds of people and all kinds of stuff like that, and a lot more information about them. And of course, I have them. Uh, the new version is called the video book. That's my favorite new
Oh.
version of it. That's where the pages, the graphically illustrated pages stream by, and the
Uh-huh.
audio album you heard is fully integrated with it. So people can
Oh.
see it and hear it all at once. And it's kind of like the optimal way,
Oh, yeah.
and it's it can be cheaper that way too. People,
Yes.
it's okay to want the physical book. It's beautiful, stuff like that, but I mean, it's all there. But the video book is sort of what I'm doing now, and so you can get all of
Yeah.
the ebook. It's all right there for people, and it just makes a lot of sense. And
Yes. Yeah.
I
And
also
what,
have a blog
oh, good. Yeah. So you can promote your books that way too.
and talk about fantasy. I want it thefantasypower.com. And I want, sure, my books are there. You can find them, but it's more about people talking about what fantasy means to them. Like
Ah,
maybe help in times of their lives, the fantasy stories have helped them, and whatever, just
oh,
whatever
yeah.
it is to people.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now we had a little internet glitch. So say the name of that website again.
KaufmanTales.com is my home site. I mean, for
Right.
the store, for the books. And
Yeah.
then the blog is thefantasypower.com.
Ah, the
That's the
fantasy.
location of the blog, the fantasy power.
Okay, okay,
That's where
okay.
you'll see the power of fantasy.
Yes,
It's all
yes,
integrated.
yes. Oh, that's
I
great.
wanted to mention because you were talking about the Parianths, the telepathic Pegasus, and their relationship,
Hmm,
and how core that is to the stories.
hmm.
It's like familial, right?
Yes.
And that's the word I like to use. And they're based. The Parianth race is based on our animal friends.
Oh,
I was very well, growing up. I felt I had a telepathic connection with my dog, pretty much. A beautiful
uh-huh.
German Shepherd, off breed, like silver and black, a gorgeous creature, and we're very close. And a lot of people are very close to their animals. I have a cat and dog here, I'm very close to. So that's kind of the inspiration for them. I also like to do something in my stories here where um, I can plant an image that you already know, Pegasus.
Mhm,
So instantaneously, you get it. You can see it in your mind. But then we learn that they're more than Pegasus. They're different. They're pariahs and they're telepathic and they're different and they have their own civilization and they have a king and, all this kind of stuff in the past, how
mhm.
they first met the people, the origin story, all that comes into it. But you can get it going quickly with the image that quickly forms in the mind, and then go. You don't have to sit there on the first page explaining some esoteric thing just to get the story
Right.
going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, in a way it's sort of like that with dragons too. We all know what dragons are. But I
Yeah.
no, but I love the Pegasus, like the unicorn. Somebody could use a unicorns, or something. Griffins, or I don't know. I'm thinking of
Sure.
all the
Something
animals in Harry
familiar
Potter.
and grow from
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people feel that way about their animals.
Yeah.
They feel connected to them.
Yep.
And maybe they don't think that they're communicating telepathically, but they do feel a real deep connection to them.
Yes.
So I love that blending of the animals and and the humans.
Great. I'm glad
I
that
mean, they
comes
might
through.
not be human. Technically,
I
they
just
might
call
be
them the people.
the
The people,
people. There we
the
go.
people in the Parianths, and I describe them.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have dark
yeah.
golden skin, and when they get older, they form bands, and the color of their skin changes, and they're like this large eyes. So they start with a human. They're humanoids, but I don't use that
Mhm.
word. It's not a
Yeah.
very fantasy visceral word, but
Well,
I just call them the people.
yeah, that's good. I like that better. It's friendlier. Humanoid's not very friendly, I don't think.
Well, that
But
would
a
be
bit.
if you were in a more science fiction environment, then that would be appropriate.
Well, I like Star Trek and they used to talk about humanoids and stuff. But
Sure.
yeah, it's not for fantasy, you need something different, I think. You need a
Yeah.
different term. Yeah, so do you still, I'm going to go in a different direction. Do you still write music for movies and television?
I had a period of time where I was doing that a lot.
Uh-huh.
I did some independent films
Hmm.
and I did a couple commercials and I sort of did my 1,000 hours and learned of those techniques, right? And then I was, commissioned by artists and I took those techniques and creative skills and applied them to that. And
Hmm.
one of the main ones from using the skills of filmmaking into a more classical music art environment were what I call environmental pieces. In 2010, Quintet of the Americas, which is a very famous group around here, they commissioned me to celebrate their 30th anniversary and Earth Day. So I'd already been started going in this direction. When I was young, I was fascinated by the sounds made by creatures, and I almost thought of becoming a naturalist before I found music. And then as a student, even doing my doctorate, I was thinking, oh, when I retire, I'll go around in the country and record those giant bees and stuff and all this crazy. But then I learned that I went to Cornell and they have something called the Library of Ornithology, Macaulay Library, and it's
Hmm.
got thousands of natural sounds in it. And I
Hmm.
discovered this. And then they commissioned this piece which became my most performed piece called Hudson Valley Music. And in it, I used hundreds of natural sounds to create a soundscape, right? And then my techniques with filmmaking to use natural images and art of a really great environmental artist named Ken Croken. And I combined those to make this beautiful video that went on with the soundscape and the live musicians, the quintet at first,
Mhm.
performing with it all together.
Oh,
I call them
cool.
environmental pieces. And I've since redesigned that piece for soloists, full orchestra, all kinds of different groups. In fact, I'm doing another version this October with my daughter playing electric guitar and her bass teacher playing the huge,
Oh, cool.
stand-up bass. And
Uh-huh.
I'm playing electric keyboards and then the soundscape and the video. And so that was sort of how I applied all the skills I learned from doing movies,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's just what I do. So I didn't go
So,
further into that world.
yeah.
I make my
So,
own films and do that.
yeah, right. That's more fun.
Yeah.
That's more fun anyway. Yeah, so I'm assuming that's your day job is creating all I mean your day job is to create all this cool music musical events or theatrical events or orchestra or whatever it is.
Yep. That's what I
Yeah.
do
Oh, that's so
all the
cool.
time. But I also have students.
Oh,
I teach. I've all these years I've been a teacher. I teach people of all ages, and we center around keyboard and piano called Dr. Kaufman's Studio. And it was good. Like over the pandemic, it transferred to being mostly online,
mhm.
and that just continued. So I do most of my teaching online. I do drive around a bit and go to, when I have new students, I'll go be with them for a while first, and then we connect, and then we go online, and it just works seamlessly that way.
Yeah.
But
Oh, wow. So you are the kind of person who, people who have 9 to 5 jobs go, how do you do that? Because they just can't conceive of creating a whole living from all of your creativity,
it's
all
a
your creative
challenge.
endeavors.
You just
Yeah.
keep at it, and it's like it's who you are. You have no choice. You know,
Hmm.
you just do it, and it evolved over all these years of being alive and doing what I do in school, in colleges, and then starting my own performance group, Chiron Performing Arts, which I led for many years, and all like that. So it's just who you are and what you do, and you don't really have a choice. You gotta make it work.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Yes, I that's how actually I started doing my podcast, going back talking about the pandemic, because I was teaching at the local community college. I was teaching theater, and when the pandemic happened, if you didn't have a lab kind of class, like if you weren't teaching welding or pottery or something where they had to be doing it
Right,
right
hands
there,
on.
we were all online, which acting was really interesting to teach online.
Ha.
But I learned to use Zoom, and then I had been thinking about doing the podcast for a while, and then it wasn't many years after that that I retired from teaching completely, and
Hmm.
I've been doing story power for just a little over 5 years now.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I love doing it. I don't make money doing it. It's since I'm retired, I don't need to,
Yeah,
but I love the creative process. It's so fun to wake up every morning and say, I have something creative on my calendar today.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's great. So you have a whole studio, it looks like, behind you of
Yep.
uh
I can't
computers
move
and
the computer around, but otherwise I'd show you. But I have bunch of giant puppets I've made and such things for my theater pieces. So they're all over the
yeah.
place. And on the screen here, some of it's streaming by a little bit as we go. The
Yeah.
Phantastic Theater. I think this is a glare problem, but there's the musical forest. There's the Fantastic Zoo, which is one of my theater pieces. They're all books too, and they're
Uh-huh.
all on my website. That's from my wedding when we were dancing, and my buddy George MC back there. There I am doing the puppet, the Phoenix puppet.
Oh,
You
it's
know,
hard to see. Oh,
I know. I don't know. There's a glare problem, and there are some friends. These are people I presented, musicians and
oh yeah.
performers. That's my daughter right there,
Oh, that's so cool.
and there's me doing a concert
That's
presentation.
that's great. Yeah. Now, are you still continuing to create theater experiences?
Well, those pieces have to find their life now, because I said I wrote them for my daughter. I mean,
Mm.
it's like the first one was the musical Forest, and
Mhm.
it's for younger audiences from mommy and me on up.
Mhm.
And then the Fantastic Zoo is for like six on up. And then I wrote her a cinematic ballet called Dancing Nighthawk, and that's 10 on up. And so the audience for the pieces grows as she grew, and then now she's playing electric guitar on my piece. So the theatrical
Mhm.
part is still there. I mean, I do these concerts in the theater with lighting, and we end with a really fun piece where the black lights come on, and it's a wild, fun thing. But
Mhm.
well, I don't write new theater pieces now.
So, if someone wants to perform one of your theater pieces, do you let them?
Of course, all I have to do is contact me. My main website, which I haven't mentioned, is called soundartist.com. That's sound, art,
Uh-huh.
us. Sound artists. And that's all over the place. Sound artist books, sound artists. My YouTube channel is called Sound Artists, and there's a ton of things on there for people. There's like classical music pieces, my books, my theater pieces. You can see movies I made of them on there.
Mhm.
Um, because Dr. Sound Artist is a character, a main character from the musical Forest. It's one of my characters, or kind of one of my alter ego, Dr. Sound Artist, you see.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of become my like interface, sound artist, between me and my imaginative creative world and the universe, So soundartist.com, and then this menu buttons, you just go to TheaterWorks, and boom, there they all are. Pow. And then they're all ready to go. I mean, I'm interested in, I've done them myself, many times. So I'm really interested in collaborating with others.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And like, for example, the Fantastic Zoo, I did it with my daughter, and I arranged it so that all the characters, puppets, I use these giant puppets and all this stuff. And so I could do it, a full, beautiful production, huge symphonic music, the whole thing with just me and her.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of characters in there that can be broadened out. Every puppet can be an actor. Uh, when they go to the zoo and they see the exhibits, that can be a set piece with dancers. So and
Yeah.
then if a guy says, "Well, look, can you make this part a little longer?" And all those kind of things, so I can adapt the project to the needs of any production company, and really would love to do that
Yeah.
and not be the narrator act and be like a creative like consultant maybe or just come and
Yeah.
see what they do.
So I'm assuming that you charge royalties. I'm hoping that you get a little bit of financial
Oh yeah,
compensation.
we'll work that out. That's an
Yeah.
individual
Yeah.
basis.
The reason I'm asking is because the person who took over my teaching at the college, he and I collaborated for a while. He was professional theater. Um, I'm not sure if he does any. Well, I guess he just directed a play up in Alaska. But yeah, so I don't know if he's still a member of the union, is what I mean. But he is in charge of the community theater around here, and they have a youth theater as part of
Don't
it.
put us in touch.
Yeah, and I was thinking, oh, because now's probably the time when they're going to start doing the next season.
Sure.
So I'll contact him and have him check out your websites.
Yeah, it depends on what age group he's working with.
Yeah.
The musical Forest is really cool because it teaches music fundamentals throughout the fantasy story in different ways. So it's very
Yeah.
educational and incredibly entertaining, all fantasy and
Yeah.
great music.
I'm not sure. I think that the youth arm goes from like 8 to high school,
Okay,
maybe.
then they'd be more interested in the Fantastic Zoo, most likely.
I might be wrong about that, but yeah, I'll send your information to him.
Sure.
And yeah, his name is Dave Dahl. Dave
Okay.
Dahl. Dahl. Yeah.
Very good.
So, okay, cool. He's not in completely in charge of the children's part. He's in charge of the adult part, but
Sure.
well, he's in charge of all of it, but somebody else runs the children's part. But I'll let him know about it, and I think that would be a really fun project for them. Yeah,
I
because
think
they do
so.
fun
It's a
stuff.
really good piece, the Fantastic Zoo, and it's a mix of like it's two young children who are going on a field trip to the zoo, and there's a whole sequence on the bus when they're thinking. It's like a transition, and
Mhm.
they go to the zoo, and well, on the bus, young Tim loves fantasy creatures, and he's imagining. He loves dragons. But his
Uh-huh.
little friend Roger had said, "Oh, there's no such thing as dragons. They're just giant alligators from long ago." So he's imagining on the bus, he's imagining alligators turning into dragons, right? So they
Mhm,
go to the
mhm.
zoo, they see the elephant exhibit and exotic birds and the lions, and then they go to the alligator exhibit, but it's under repair, and he's really sad. And
Oh.
he sits on the bench and cries as she consoles him, his older sister Mary. And
Uh-huh.
then they hear this magic flute and it comes closer and closer. Then they see the wizard Zithuna appears, and he ushers them
Oh.
into the fantastic zoo where they hear the great, amazing stories of the phoenix, the mermaid, and the dragon, and who the huge, beautiful fantasy stories of these creatures. And then the dragon especially speaks about, they learn a secret from each one about living life with imagination. And the
Uh-huh.
dragon especially talked to them about the war on the imagination, and imagination is so important. And then they go
Yes.
home, and the large tree in front of their house comes to life, and they climb in its branches, and it ends with a beautiful song. Music magic is everywhere.
So
So
cool.
there's plenty of adult parts, like like it could be anything, but the
Mhm.
wizard could be grown up, and the children they could be a multi aged group, or all one. It could be all
Yeah.
kids if you want, sure.
Well, if you've got high school kids, they could
Yeah,
pretend to
yeah.
be adults.
That's,
Yeah,
it could be the wizard, It's great. It's a great
absolutely.
part, the flute.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. Wow, we've covered a lot. Do you have anything else you want to say that I haven't asked you or?
No, I'm an advocate in all my works. Everything adds up to, advocating, as I say, for the transformative power of imagination, and re-injecting it into our
Yeah,
lives,
yeah.
which it's been degraded a good bit in our contemporary lives, just the way
Oh.
things are, with fluorescent lights and walls and beautiful forests being turned into parking lots. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the purposes for fantasy stories and
Mm-hmm.
music and art, is to reinvigorate our imaginations, which might have gone dormant, or and wake them
Yes.
up. And then if that works for you, and you get it going in whatever way you wish, could be Tales of the Ocean City, it could be anything. And then you go out and you see and hear and feel life differently. You're walking along a parking lot, you see a little dandelion, and you think of it more like it's on a quest to rediscover the ancient glorious forest that was once there, because it remembers it from days of
Mm-hmm.
old.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you see is much more invigorated, and you're happier, and you can see what you might do with your life based on what
Yes.
you can imagine, rather than what is prescribed.
Yes. Don't get
So,
me started about STEM and getting rid of the arts because I taught high school and it was very sickening to me that because in I am an emotional I'm an empathic person, so I'm emotional, I'm connected to emotions. So to me, the whole focusing on science and technology and engineering and math, people can't learn emotional intelligence that way. You learn emotional intelligence from the arts,
And so leaving the arts out of education just really burns my.
Especially when you consider that many of the greatest scientists were very involved with the arts.
Mm-hmm,
And the arts have participated in many discoveries from
mm-hmm,
space and time to everything. I mean, Einstein played Mozart string quartets. It helped him conceive of his
mm-hmm,
thoughts.
mm-hmm.
And artists in the past advanced our perspective so that people saw the
Right.
world differently. They saw
Yes.
the whole, instead of seeing it flat, they saw in depth and
Right.
imagined what could be over on the other side of the ocean.
Right.
So it needs to work together.
Yeah, they do. They do. So I'm hoping we get to revamp the whole educational system at some point.
That would be
But
nice.
I'm not going to be helping with that now that I'm retired, in except in the way that you do, and that's by sharing people's stories, and just I'm all about stories.
Good.
So yeah, that's the way I do it. And I wish I were a musician. I appreciate music, but I'm not a musician. And because I just love the marriage of story and music. Music is a story, but
Sure.
it's an emotional story. It doesn't have words. So yeah.
There you go.
So thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope to have you again.
Sure. We could come on and we could talk more about the theater pieces.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
when I finish book 8, we could talk about the next steps of Tales of the Ocean City. And
Yes,
there's the
definitely.
environmental pieces. We can get into that, whatever you like.
Yes.
Why don't you investigate my website, Sound Artists, and just go around and see if something interests you particularly, and then we can talk about that.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you not only enjoyed this episode but gained something valuable to take away with you. If you like what you heard, please share it with your friends and give us a rating and or review. If you're a story lover too, I invite you to join my Patreon community at patreon.com/storypower, all one word. Or you might be interested in classic cinema with the Sage Sisters, a YouTube channel and Facebook page I started with my sister Celeste, where we choose one classic movie that we think still has lessons for us today. As you can see, I'm passionate about spreading the love of stories and completely believe what Philip Pullman said. After nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are the thing we need most in the world. Until next time, this is Lucinda Sage-Midgorden. Thanks for listening.